Hi, I'm John Stewart, Chief Investment Officer of Farmers Trust Company. This is the Investor's Edge.
The Investor's Edge, Market Insights with John Stewart, is brought to you by Farmers Trust Company.
Hi, I'm John Stewart. Welcome to the Investor's Edge. First up, the week in review. Geopolitical threats intensify. Well, as if the war situation in Ukraine weren't enough to worry about, we now have Hamas, among other bad actors in the Middle East, waging war against Israel, who's understandably retaliating in an attempt to damage their enemy's war-making capabilities. Now, while there is some historical evidence that the onset of wars rarely causes lasting damage to the U.S. stock market, there are certainly plenty of other factors at play which, in aggregate, warrant some caution. War does tend to be inflationary, which obviously is a problem we've already been trying to deal with for the better part of the last couple of years. And this past week's Consumer Price Index showed that current levels of inflation are indeed still well above the Fed's desired range. This also comes at a time in which the United States fiscal position is incredibly weak, given already elevated levels of government spending and borrowing. And as I talked about last time, all of this continues to put upward pressure on interest rates, which makes the outlook for the economy and the stock market far from certain. Now, earnings season starts next week, and that should provide some more clues as to where businesses see things heading as we move towards next year. For this week's featured insight, the road less traveled. As an investor, it is important to look for opportunities that others overlook. Now, why is that, you ask? Because the things that others overlook tend to be cheap relative to their intrinsic value. Classic supply and demand. Now, most novice investors tend to look at investment opportunities as either good or bad, regardless of the price they're actually paying. But the price is what really matters the most. The best business in the world isn't worth paying a price that's so high that it makes it impossible to profit from over time. Stocks that are widely sought after tend to have prices that are high relative to their value, and that's a condition that can persist over long periods of time. But in the long run, you will be best served to find those diamonds in the rough that other investors have left behind, allowing you to pick them up for pennies on the dollar. Looking ahead, earnings season begins. Well, another earnings season is upon us, and we'll find out how companies performed from July through September. And while that earnings information is important, it's also information about the past, and stock prices move in anticipation of the future. Now, unexpected changes to businesses' future outlook, for example, what will happen in the first and second quarters of next year, is what really matters the most. For now, that earnings outlook for the next couple of quarters has been holding up extremely well, justifying what's been a decent year for stocks so far in 2023. And as long as that remains the case, stocks can remain resilient, even in the face of all the macroeconomic threats. We'll learn more about whether or not that is indeed the case starting next week. Once again, I'm John Stewart. Thank you for watching The Investor's Edge.
The Investor's Edge, Market Insights with John Stewart, is brought to you by Farmers Trust Company.